Yo, what's going on? Good morning, guys. All right, so we getting a little bit of selling right now on across the market on SPY and a couple of their names. We got our levels to watch for today, so we chilling. But let's see what happens today. I think semis are gonna remain key for the day. Coming into EQ here on SPY, nothing major. All right, so right off open, there's a couple of things I'm watching. The same game plan. You guys already know kind of the names I've been looking at. But it's gonna consist of. Let's see what Berkshire's doing. Yeah, it's probably gonna consist of if we get the breakdown. I'm considering taking Berkshire out to May 16th. 530s, maybe even 500s can work. I wouldn't go that low, but potentially that could work. J&J is also a potential catalyst. Let's see. Let's go full screen one by one real quick. So J&J official short we took was from up here, paid pretty well. We caught this move down. We're back at this this area here. I mentioned reshorting at that 158. If you got the reshort, they're paying pretty well. What I want to see today is if we could get below the previous day high and get that continuation lower back towards those lows we put in on earnings. No, sorry, not earnings. Earnings was over here. Uh, these lows were just when the market bottomed. So essentially below this level, I want to see us come down and retest those lows versus a potential breakout from this level. But I'm looking for the sells myself. So J&J is one potential trade I'm gonna take if levels allow. Another one that looks decent is gonna be PG. The reason I'm taking these names is just because they have lower IV. So I'm trying to get a bargain, something I can swing at a cheap price, which is gonna be these names. So So this is where we are on the daily, retesting where we broke down from. If we reject from there, we did reject from there slightly. But essentially what you want to see is a break back down below this level, which is 162.20 versus a breakout. If we do stay below, I like the sells on PG, J&J, Netflix also looks okay. The only problem with shorting any of these names is if we do get a potential squeeze in the markets with any of the earnings this week, obviously the majority of these names are going to squeeze higher as well. Like Netflix, for example, the 2618 is at 1148, and we have a GP here for the day. So I would not be surprised if they try to base maybe and come to these highs before fading. Obviously, I don't want that. I'm looking for the sells myself. I would prefer it to follow this path and continue lower. But you need to be mindful of both potential scenarios at any time when you're taking on any trade. So sure, we want to see this break down and follow this path back down to where we broke out from. But if at any point we do start bouncing from these areas we broke out from, these are potential targets to the upside you need to be prepared for. So Netflix is also a potential trade for today. Berkshire looks decent. So this one's pretty much at all-time highs. We could squeeze a bit higher like we did on Netflix. Let's overlay this real quick just so you guys can get an idea. So maybe on the daily. I guess this isn't the best example, but Netflix did put in a new high, right? So all I'm trying to get you guys to think is, what if Berkshire, also does something like Netflix and squeezes a bit higher before coming down? So what if we see like 545, 550 on Berkshire before, rolling over? Also be mindful we have earnings coming on May 5th, which is next week. So let's say you are getting short here and we do get that squeeze up to those levels. Obviously that's going to hurt you. Or what if we squeeze before then and then sell on earnings? So just be prepared for both sides if you do plan on taking any of these trades. But I think they look okay. Like I said, we have earnings. Once earnings are out the way, it's going to be easier to just take on trades without being worried of that overnight risk through earnings. But I do like the levels on these names. Kind of like this name for a short. I've never traded it. Let me check what the spreads are like. Uh, this is it's not a U.S. company. Where was it from? Let me double check. It's a German software company. So yeah, I like this name for potential short. Let me just double check. I'm sure it has options. Yes, it does. The IV is 30%, not terrible. Only thing I don't like is it only has a couple. It doesn't have like weekly expirations. It has monthlies, not even monthlies. It has some for May 16, some for June, and some for September. Next set goes out all the way to December. The premiums aren't really attractive. Trying to find something cheap. If I were to take it, which I probably won't after looking at the options chain, I'd probably consider June. I don't think I'd touch May just because of the prices and spreads aren't terrible. Spreads are manageable, depending what you take. The only thing I don't like is it trades in $10 increments. It doesn't have like 280, 281, 282. It goes from 280 all the way to 270. So you're forced to short at 280, 290, or 270 out to May 16. And again, I don't really like those trades. If I were to take it, I would probably do out to June, but the spreads do widen a bit out to June. Uh, I'll double check during when the market opens, see what the prices are like. Since we're opening a little higher, the premiums should be down a bit. If they're down maybe 30% ish, I'll consider buying in maybe for first starter set. But being honest with you guys, I don't really like the way the option chain is set up. Just made a stamp it. I don't really trade news like that, and what does that even mean? Hostile act against America? What does that mean? Is that what we sold on? Supposedly? I mean, I don't know what to tell you. The daily looks okay. We do have a small gap below. So is your open gap below on Amazon? They're almost into that level. So one thing to be mindful of, let's say they do come close this level. Again, I'm probably not even going to touch Amazon, but let's say they do close this gap. These are areas that could potentially be bought for a retest higher versus a breakdown from these levels, right? So I wouldn't trade the news. I wouldn't touch Amazon probably. If you didn't buy here at the lows, if you didn't short the highs, don't do anything here. You're between a range. Like I said, if we come down to these lows, this is a potential area you can try to buy the dip. Better buy than maybe buying here, or I don't know, just probably refrain from taking anything that's between ranges like this. SPY is also going to be one of them. So I get it. We can break down. Let's get rid of this. So first and foremost, this is a 192, right? This is a 192 minute chart. So basically about 3-hour candles. We mentioned potentially buying the dip back here for a target of 587, which is potentially possible. We may be en route there. When we came back down, where was it? Here on this dip. Also mentioned you could potentially get long if we went above, if we reclaimed 510. So on the reclaim of 510, you could have been long from down here. Coming into these targets, you have your first potential resistance level at that 547, which we failed here and trying to reject off of. But for the most part, we haven't done anything. So we are in this range, which is why I tell you guys be careful forcing your bet on either side, because if we put a small fib, so from low to high, it doesn't come out so clean. We're right around the midpoint. So this is the midpoint right here. Magnet's messing me up. Well, whatever. Long story short, we're right along the midpoint, right? So forcing a bet at the midpoint might be a mistake because you can easily come retest the lows or the highs. You're literally right at the middle. So forcing a bet here is literally like flipping a coin. We can just as easily come to the lows as we can to the highs. I personally favor the downside, but the cleaner trade is on a breach of this range. When we break the lows, then you can come target these lows we were targeting before on a breach of these levels. But for now, if you are short, you want to be careful at any point when we come down into these lows that we can potentially bounce back to these highs. So let's get rid of all this mess we just put on here. But again, the path has been there. So you see first target, small pullbacks are fine. We might get a couple pullbacks here before the next breakout higher. But regardless, if short, you want to be careful with any potential bounces. And if you are trying to be long or trying to buy or break for the breakout, just be careful. We can obviously pull back all the way into these levels here. I myself, like I told you guys, the best thing to do, or at least what I'm trying to do, is start scaling in slowly into longer dated puts on names that I like that are extended into highs. Like I said, Coca-Cola was one of them. We did it up here. It's been paying. It's okay. We are at a potential support area where we can break out to the highs. But at the same time, this might be some type of head and shoulders, right? Like we don't really know what's going to happen. All we can see is levels. So potential support here mentioned, I drew the path. Yesterday, this could have been a buy the dip opportunity if you wanted to. But like I said, I didn't do anything. Still sitting on my puts. If we get the breakdown, great. If we do break out, I'll just add to my shorts higher. It's fine. Sure, these sells will be losing money, but I'll add up here. And then eventually when we do roll over, this set will be paying you a lot here, and this original set will, you know, go back to break even or small green or whatever. So that's what I plan on doing. If you just be mindful of your sizing. That's the number one thing when you're trying to do something like this. If you size in too much too early, it's going to be an issue, and you're not going to be able to manage accordingly later down the line. The only problem is if you don't get enough size. Let's say we do full scale just melt here in the markets, which I don't think we will. But let's say we were to do that and you only took starter sets on your cells. The only thing that does suck is you're going to get paid obviously only small amount because you didn't get to scale into your full size. That's the only problem in my opinion with that strategy that I use. But majority of the time you do get cheaper prices and better opportunities to load higher. So you're fine scaling in slowly. Then as soon as market opens, or maybe like 2-3 minutes after market settles, and I take care of some trades, I'm gonna send all the trades I mentioned potentially taking. So if you want to look at them right now, that's fine. But I'm not too interested in what yesterday's closing price was. I want to see what the premiums open at today. And if I see a bargain in the premiums, I'll send them out. But if they're still kind of expensive, I might just refrain and wait a few minutes at the open. And then gold has a small gap up here, so I want to see if gold can come up, close this gap right here, right? And once we close that gap, do we slip back down or do we go back to the highs? That's something I'm going to be watching here on gold. Whoops. Like I said, gold has a super important test today. Or maybe not today, in the coming days. I think by Wednesday, Thursday latest, this should give us an answer. But we've been trading at these lows for quite some time. So this is the high from last week. We've been chopping between this range, which is why I tell you guys keep it tactical in ranges. You have top range where we broke down from, you have bottom range. It's literally just been ping-ponging between these levels. And we are at the bottom range now. So do we break back out? Well, actually don't break back out. Right now, we have an open gap here, right? So I'm saying maybe bounce, close this before heading lower. So let's see if that does happen. The level I'm interested on is a breach of 302. But the real level we want to see lost is at 300, 299.5 here. Closing that gap, you have more downside targets, right? But let's see what happens. I'm still sitting on some. If we do get the breakdown below levels, I'll consider adding, or maybe even on the gap close if we reject into the highs. Maybe I'll take some more. But I'm not too interested in gold. I already have some trades on that are gonna work, hopefully. I'm looking to get in on other names I'm not currently in, but we'll see what happens today. If I had to guess, I don't know if I want to take it. If semis do bounce, they might have a decent day. Like I said in the chat, if you guys saw the write-up, semis are coming into a pinpoint. So if semis do get that breakout today, they have quite a way to go to the upside. So same comments, trade the ranges, don't do too much inside of the ranges until we break out. If we break to the downside, you have your targets. If we break to the upside, you have your targets, right? That's a thesis. AMD looks really clean, upside, downside. AVGO, similar setup. We've been tracking AVGO for quite some time since the lows. And at this point, again, if they break out above these highs, they're going to go deliver that target we've been tracking for some time. If they deliver below the previous day low, then sure, we can break back lower. But the previous day low, just be mindful, it's still quite a ways below. Down into, what was that, like 187.5, let's say, versus a breakout here into the highs. So just be mindful. I'm not telling you guys to go long semis here into the highs. Definitely not. It's a risky trade. But just be aware of the levels in case they do break out. You're not trying to force sells or something. And then we have Qualcomm earnings after the close. No, not after the close. I think they report tomorrow. Let me double check. Is it pre-market or do they report? No, they report after hours Wednesday. So this is a potential trade. I'm not saying we go that high, but that wick definitely looks interesting. Same setup as the other names. Like I said, breakout versus breakdown from these levels. Yeah, I'm checking. Actually, I'm gonna pass. I'm not taking this. I'm not gonna take it. But if they do break out above that 150 level, we can squeeze on earnings. I would not take it. Let me check options. See if there's some more information on the options data. But just off of the chart, I would not get long. Not too much. volume, to be honest with you guys, on the options for Qualcomm. Very little volume actually. Probably gonna pass on that one via all of the chips and semis at interesting levels here. So breakout versus breakdown across the board. Be mindful. Just keep those on your screens today. See what they do. So today my plan right off the open is to be patient. I'm not doing anything after ranges resolve like this one on gold. I'll consider maybe putting something on. But at the open, literally right at the open, I'm just gonna be looking at prices on those contracts I mentioned to you guys. But I'm not doing too much, and I don't have too much risk on right now. So interesting development here on Apple. Apple basically right back at the highs from when was this? A couple weeks ago when we last shorted, mentioned a potential breakout. So if they do hold these highs, they're probably gonna deliver that breakout above the 786 today. If they don't, and we do get the breakdown, the 786, essentially this is where you want to short if we are gonna slip. But you want to be mindful just because we do have earnings this week and a couple other names reporting. So just be mindful. But I do think, let's see, do we have any open gaps? I think in terms of gaps, we might be okay. I wouldn't be opposed to trying small sales on Apple for ER maybe. Again, all the names I mentioned are viable. Just don't force anything. Just be mindful of the ranges. If you do get the triggers, you're welcome to take any of the setups I mentioned. But before you don't get those setups, right, and you're still within ranges, just be careful so you're not buying the bottom of the range. Sorry, not selling the bottom of the range per se. Right at the open from the trades I mentioned, Netflix is small green, J&J small green, PG hasn't updated, Berkshire hasn't updated. Nice little sell on PG. Damn, those were cheap yesterday. Right now that I'm looking at the chain. Yeah, PG's already up a lot. Oh, J&J, they all melted the names I mentioned this morning. That would have been a super clean swing if you were in from yesterday. The preems are up already right here at the open, straight off the open. So kind of hard to get in on that. Don't chase here, by the way. Just wait, let prices settle a little bit, then we'll see if we can get in. If you weren't in from yesterday, like I said, there's not a chance, or maybe you do get in on that drop, but with the way the preems are and all that, right at the open, I doubt it. So just be patient here. Let's see what happens next few minutes. SPY pushing back up into that 549.85. If it breaks above that area, they're gonna try to go for the breakout. Qualcomm into the lows. AMD, oof, look at that nice little pop. AVGO down into the lows. So let's see what happens. Semi is still in their ranges. All right, so let's see on this pop how premiums are looking on those trades. Again, I didn't take anything earlier. Right now on these props, I'll start seeing what the premiums look like, and if the numbers make sense, then I'll consider taking the trades. But be mindful that if they break out above these levels, we're pushing higher, right? So came down, retested support. Now, if they want to, they can go for the breakout. I'm not betting on the breakout. I'm assuming they might roll over. That's the trade I'm going to try, and I'm going to give it some time. So let's see. The Netflix swings I had issued last week are at super good prices, by the way. This is more of an aggressive swing, assuming we are going to break down from these levels. But those Netflix trades are down quite a bit on premium. So if anyone was interested, I like them at these prices. As for J&J and PG, I'm debating which one I want to take of the two. Realistically, PG should trade clean. On my data, PG has a cleaner downside opportunity. The only thing is the last time I took PG, it was probably the one that took the longest to pay out of everything. Took longer than J&J, took longer than PM. Matter of fact, PM might be in a potential. I'll probably just wait on that one. Let me check PM. I'm probably gonna prefer PG. I'm checking the chain right now, trying to find something cheap. Netflix paying a little bit right here. So I'm contemplating on the setup to take, but I'm probably just gonna go ahead and take PG between the two setups. Has a little bit more meat on the bone and a little less open interest. So I might just go with that one. While I am going with that one, I'm trying to get filled. I'm gonna send some of these in the Discord right now. It's still working. What's PG doing? let's see SPY here. SPY pushing above that 550 now. Don't forget the breakout targets. If we do break out, again, it's going to be probably dependent on what the market does with Apple this week. But if we do get the breakout, again, the targets can go as high as 587. That was the original target. We can go there. I would not be surprised. We have a magnet into 575, but for now, we have resistance here into 550. So let's see. Yeah, Coca-Cola bouncing right into that sales level again. So like I said, we have support here. As long as support holds, there's no reason to be short. Theoretically, you want to see below support, which we just did and bounced off of GP. Ideally for bears, what you want is continuation lower. So this is fine. In the next candles, you want to come down and break below the levels, which are support at 71.35. So if we start getting closures below 71.35, that's when the bears can get their downside. For now, it's bouncing off of support, so you just assume it's going to head higher unless we do start rolling over in the next candle open. So in about 45 minutes, around 7:30ish, if we do start getting a pullback down into the lows, then that's going to be a nice sell on the day or week, or down the line if you want to swing it. But that's what you want to watch for today here. If you're watching Coca-Cola actively, by 7:30 again, you don't want to break out. So ideally what you want is maybe a little bit of chop here. So a little bit of chop, and then closer to that 7:30 zone is when you want to see a retracement back to the lows. But if at any point we do break out above the highs, that is where you want to definitely not be short. For now, this is EQ here, should act as small resistance. And like I said, maybe a little bit of chop and they just sit prices around here or start reverting a bit lower. But ideally, the goal for someone trying to short is into that 7:30. We're pushing into lower prices along this path. If they do follow the upside path, like I said, if you don't want to sit in the drawdown or sit on the trades, you're welcome to take them off. Consider taking off, putting them on higher. And you guys might say, well, that's stupid. If it's going higher, why would you sit on your puts? Realistically, I don't know. Anything can happen overnight, which is why I want some short exposure in names I like that are into the highs. Because at any point we can sell on any headline, on Apple earnings, on anything. But just as easily we can break out to the highs on positive tariff news or something. So don't go all in on yourselves, most definitely. But I myself do want to have my hand in the cookie jar with some type of short exposure. Small bounce here on Qualcomm. By the way, I checked premiums on Qualcomm. Pretty expensive. If we do go to the moon, sure, you'll get paid, but I'm not paying those premiums up front. Definitely not. And then semis still in the same ranges. If these do break out, like I said, these have a pretty big potential upside, but still within ranges, so I'm not going to do anything. Coca-Cola now pushing into that EQ that we just discussed. So watch that level for now. And like I said, if you want to just take it off, preserve the capital, try to put it back on later, that's cool. But just keep in mind, like I said, those swings can trigger at any time, and it's easier to just sit on them, in my opinion. But again, if you have room to add. If you don't, then consider taking them off when you get a chance. TLT pushing here above 89.57. Are these the highs? These are the highs. TLT might go for a breakout here. Sheesh. Where are my drawings at? Why don't I have drawings up? I shared TLT down here. I shared it here, shared it here, shared it here. So those should be doing okay if you took them at the lows, and if you took them off, put them back on, you should be doing all right. But yeah, let's see if TLT manages to break out above the previous day high. If that does happen, there's going to be an interesting development here for the market. So previous day high test right here, breakout versus resistance on TLT. AMD pushing, AVGO probably pushing too. Yep. Nvidia, AMD, IBM, yep, Qualcomm. So let's see if the chips manage to deliver this breakout. And again, Qualcomm has earnings. That should be interesting. So everything's still within ranges, but these are some decent candles to the upside. Let's see if they manage to trigger. Small sell here on gold. Interesting. I actually wanted to see the gap close on gold, which is the opposite. So let's see if they lose the point of control or if they bounce from these levels on gold. Let's buy now above 55. My bad. I was about to say above 55th. Above 550 and pushing. Yeah, nice little breakout here. I should have taken those. I wanted to scout buys on AMD. They're pretty cheap. They're less than $100. I didn't do it. Fuck it. I would have paid. Let's check premiums on that. Not too much. About $100 up, but still not 1-to-1 RR. Maybe like at 98, there'll be 1-to-1. Gold slipping under point of control here. Watch SPY and NASDAQ. Let's see if they flip as well or if they go for the breakout. So you have two potential setups here if you're looking for a scalp. One is going to be to try to short SPY off the highs. Whoops. The other one is going to be to try to buy this dip on GLD. Those are two active trades. Reclaim of point of control and push above is going to be a clean buy on GLD, and then rejection and breakdown from these levels is going to be a clean sell on SPY. One of the two has to pay. What I mean by that, they're diverging trades. So either SPY pulls back from here or gold is about to bounce off these lows. If I had to guess, there's a higher probability of GLD bouncing off the lows and going for that gap close. But we'll see. Netflix pulling back here, and so is SPY. Let's see if how deep this goes. If we break the range lows, like I discussed this morning, then that would be a potential start of a bigger sell from here. But until we don't get confirmation, just assume this is still a range and keep it tactical within the range. I would not I wouldn't think they're gonna give us the breakdown or breakout before the earnings. I think they're gonna purposely leave the markets within these ranges into earnings. That way, whoever is planning on holding for earnings is gonna have to be forced to, take that bet overnight. Whether you are a buyer or a seller in the market, both sides are gonna have to flip a coin and decide if they want to, hold that risk overnight into earnings. And majority of people probably won't, and then you'll get your breakout or breakdown, and then they'll deliver the next leg after that. But generally that's the way they do it. I would not be surprised if that happens again this time. Why am I saying this? Just so you're mindful into whatever positions you take. It's early in the week. uh, just because we might be bullish or bearish today into the start of the week does not mean that's going to be the same case into the end of the week. So just be mindful. If you're taking any trades, again, whether calls or puts, leave room to add after all of these earnings take place after Wednesday, Thursday. If you do so, I guarantee you'll probably get a better opportunity to add at better prices. And if you don't, you're paid. So like I said, if the sales happen overnight, then we are at least had some already. And if we do break out a little higher, then great, I get to buy more at a discount. So I'm not too concerned. But the major problem here as a trader is if you put in too much size early. So scale in to your trades. Don't go full size on anything. At least I'm not. If you guys want to do that, then to each his own. But I'm using super low risk here for now. All right, so we're getting both of the things we mentioned. SPY is coming down off those highs, and gold is bouncing into that point of control. So if you would have taken either of those, both are working. Theoretically, only one was supposed to work, assuming that again, SPY was gonna break out. But we'll see what happens here next few minutes. Will not be surprised if they do break out. So be mindful. Let's go to 12, just so we get a little more context of where we're at. So just be mindful, this small pullback is nothing of size. We have these highs from pre-market, and we're well above these support levels where we were earlier. So I would not be surprised if they do something like this back to the highs. And gold is bouncing like we discussed, and it will probably go for that open gap close. Apple at the highs. So let's see what happens here. But again, I would not be surprised if they bounce. The better sell is going to be on a breach of 550.50 or maybe even that 550 level. Under there, I like the sells better. For now, this could just be a small retracement before the next leg higher. Netflix below that 1.1K level. I want to see what it does here. Do we start slipping or does it get back above? Let's check oil. Apparently there was oil news. No reaction. Not sure. I hadn't been on the chat. My bad. Normal guy AVGO swing what? Upside, downside? I probably wouldn't take it unless you're cool with the lotto aspect of it. Uh, but even then, you're kind of buying into top range resistance. Can we break out higher? Sure, but it's not the best trade in my opinion. I think it's gonna come down to Qualcomm. If I'm being honest with you, if Qualcomm has a massive beat and rallies crazy, the rest of the semis are probably gonna go up with it. But just as easily, if we break down on Qualcomm, it can affect the rest of the chips. So be careful with that. I probably would not myself take the calls. Test on Berkshire. Let's see what Berkshire's doing. So Berkshire above 531, I would say gets short-term bullish with a path to maybe 533.5. As long as we're below 531, I like the sells on Berkshire. That one I rather swing. Just it's a little more expensive, but we do have some really nice downside targets all the way down into 460. So when that name does pay, it's gonna pay pretty well like it did the last time. SPY, I would not take here myself just in case we do get the pop to the upside we discussed. And that's also, viable on any name. Like I said this morning, If we do break out across the board, even Berkshire could be pushing higher into 545, 550. So anyone taking any of these short trades, like I said, leave room tad higher. But whoops, not this one. But yeah, you guys see the potential targets if they trigger. Gold's starting to slip here again. Let's see if it gets back below EQ or if it stays above. Pressure coming down a little bit. We'll go on mute for like 2 minutes, guys. I'll be right back. I'm watching SPY here. If you want to take the cues instead or whatever, that's fine. Or not take anything, that's cool. But watch SPY and cues right here. See if they actually get the breakdown back below those levels we discussed, or if they go for the breakout right here next few minutes. They should do it next couple minutes here. So either they're going to go for the breakout or they're about to roll over back to the lows. So keep an eye on that. TLT is pushing higher. So that's interesting development here. Yeah, so we got that small breakout back to the highs on SPY, trying to come back down to the lows, but they're probably gonna push higher here. We'll see. I gotta take care of something real quick. Well, not real quick. I'm gonna probably call it here. Gotta do some stuff. My bad, y'all. If y'all have questions or something, feel free to DM me. I can help you guys out. But as for the stream, I'm gonna call it. I have to take off and take care of some things real quick. Personally, I think the SPY probably breaks out higher from here. We'll see. But yeah, not doing too much here myself. I did take a couple of those swings. I'll send some. I'll send those out in the Discord right now, just in case someone does want to see what those prices are at. But I think it's probably just gonna be better off if you guys just wait to get in maybe higher if we do break out on earnings. We'll see. What did Q come? Nothing. Wow. Should have sat on that. So let's see if they get the breakdown here on SPY versus the bounce. We do have downside liquidity to this wick, 549.72. Let's see if they want to go target that. Yeah, my bad, y'all. I gotta go take care of some stuff, but I'll be here tomorrow. I'll hop on tomorrow and Thursday.